So, Lou, I am so stoked that you have been coming around again and wanting to rejoin the show, man.
Me too, man. Hopefully I can do more around here, you know?
You know, Lou, there's a way to make sure that happens.
Oh, yeah? Oh, no. No.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Luis Hernandez.
I mean, Fuego here.
And that was just a joke, okay? Before anyone tries to mount a defense or an offense or whatever and call the police.
All lies.
It was just a joke!
It was a reference.
It was a reference, you guys. We are here to do an extreme advanced review.
Extreme advanced? What?
Of an upcoming Amazon TV series. And honestly, after having watched this, I am super glad that it's coming to Prime and not network TV where they have to work around stuff like AMC. AMCB.
Yeah, which is the case with the other Garth Ennis property we saw developed recently, which was Preacher. Hit and miss at times.
Mm-hmm.
We're not completely through the entirety of season 3, the most recent one. It's about to be ended after season 4, but some of the same guys behind this, at least as far as the development, being Evan Goldberg, Seth Rogen, but the big name that I was especially curious about was Eric Kripke. None other than the dude behind Supernatural. Creator
the first
of
5
Supernatural
seasons of
and
Supernatural.
behind the first 5 seasons, and he still remains an EPZ, DZ Sheezy.
Well, because he created it. That's the name title.
That always happens. But
so
let that guy
there's
play in
strength
this
of storytelling in this gentleman's back pocket, and so what we got to do is see an advanced screening of the pilot episode of The Boys.
Yeah.
Now, this is a TV show based on a fantastic but very adult Dynamite comic book.
Dynamite!
It actually didn't start off as a Dynamite comic. It started off in another company. I believe it started off as Wildstorm.
It did,
Yeah.
and then
it moved around.
And then it only moved once. It moved to Dynamite after the first story arc. And they were like, because Wildstorm was going out, they were no longer going to be making any books.
And so
Is that what happened? Is that why?
Yeah.
I thought it was because they thought it was too much.
And now, if I remember I thought it was the content that they were just like, wow, Garth, this is too much. Because Garth
it was because the company was
well, I mean,
down
wasn't
under.
Wildstorm, who were they affiliated with? Was it DC?
It was DC,
That's
because Jim Lee was over there. Because Wildstorm
Wildstorm
was an
for me
association with Wildcats and things like that. It was that universe.
Well, and
but Mr. Majestic was the big thing that actually ported over to the DC universe.
Divine Right was the
done
big
by Jim Lee,
Wildstorm book, which is a Jim Lee book that I hold very,
Jim Lee
very
big
Max
in the Wildstorm
Parody,
universe.
man. Yeah, I love that series.
So
Anyway,
this started there, and then it moved to
over.
Dynamite, and so now all the trades, including the first trade, like he's showing there, was moved over to Dynamite, and this is a superhero book for people that are so sick of superhero movies and stories.
Yeah,
for real.
Yeah.
This is the dark underbelly of the bright and shiny Marvel universe.
Not even the underbelly. We're talking like a little further down, the gooch. You know, like in between the dick and the
These
balls.
are the hidden
the
private
asshole.
parts of the Marvel universe or DC universe.
MCU.
Dark secrets, dark kept secrets.
For real.
Yeah.
So this is a fantastic story, and they're doing a full season adaptation. We don't know exactly how far the first season is going to go into the story. I believe the story ended up being about 60 issues.
The whole...
Well, I mean, I can find that on my phone real quick.
The reason we're making these comparisons and notes is because...
It was just like Preacher, though.
It was just like Preacher, right. Same writer, Garth Ennis, wrote Preacher as well.
Yeah, he had a set amount of issues that he always wanted to do, just like with Preacher, and this was him trying to out-Preacher as he described it.
He did describe it at one time, but this is basically the really adult, kind of dirty version of superhero universes. That's the easiest way to put it.
It's the the poop stain of superheroes. Right? It's this thing. It's like
this is the internet, baby. It's the shit stain of superheroes.
Yeah, it's like you see them in the costumes, but then when you see the costume, you see a shit stain in it. You're like, everything you felt about this character, you're like, he shit himself. You're like, that's the way I felt.
So let's get into this. Let's do our overall thoughts. We'll do this review like we normally do, and so we'll talk about all of this in a non-spoiler fashion. This is I did. It's a Prime Video show, just like The Tick. Yep. Just like the Top Gear guy's new show is on there as well.
Marvelous Miss Maisel.
I don't know. Sure.
It's a good show.
Anyway.
Not horror.
Yes,
Yeah,
this is going to be a
watching
Prime
it at work
TV
with
series.
me.
Now, I don't know if that means it's going to be released all at once, or if it's going to be released week by week, because Amazon has done both.
Well, I'm not familiar. I don't have.
Yeah, I don't know their
stuff,
format,
so I don't know how they handle
I
it.
believe they do.
I
believe they do both, week by week and all at once. But I could be wrong about that. I could be wrong.
Yeah, because Hulu does everything weekly, and then Amazon
and Netflix drops them all at once. You know what I mean?
Simultaneously. Yeah.
So this, let's give our overall thoughts. Then we'll talk about the story, the acting, the effects, all of that good stuff in turn. But again, this was the first, basically hour-long episode of this series. And I will say, as someone that has every single individual issue of this series, because it came out in the heyday when I was really collecting comics. I've been collecting comics since Superman died in 1992 at the very end of the year. And, and I love Garth Ennis. I have...
He's my favorite comic
all
book.
kinds of different stuff. Basically, if you know comic books, I have about 85 different long boxes worth of books.
I've seen them. It's insane.
That's the amount of comics I have.
Seen 'em.
So... this I have the entire series and all of the offshoot series in issue form, and I loved it. And honestly, this series starts off with a faux commercial from Vought America, which Vought is this company that basically owns superheroes in this particular timeline. And it's so amazing because as soon as I heard Vought, I was like, all of this stuff came flooding back, because I haven't read it since it came out. The series did end, and it ended about, I think, 6 or 7 years ago at this point.
I think it's way longer than
It
that.
might even be
How
longer
many
than that.
volumes are there?
It's 60 issues, and there's probably 6 issues per thing, so it's probably 10 to 12 volumes.
Okay. Jesus.
Well, this first trade came out in 2007,
So yeah, it's probably been about 6 or 7 years since it actually finished. See, Wildstorm. Okay, cool. Man, my memory isn't failing me
just
yet.
for the first one.
Yeah!
As you mentioned.
So anyway, guys, I absolutely loved this book, this adaptation, and being someone that knows the series inside and out but hasn't read it in a long time.
How inside and out do you remember it then?
That's the thing. There was a lot of things that when something happens near the beginning, when someone disappears from the frame, I was like, it all came flooding back, and I was like, oh! And then when they revealed what happened, I was like, oh! They're actually doing it. They're actually going for it. So as someone that has that sort of history with the series, I absolutely and utterly loved what we got. I don't think they shortchanged us. I think they may have sped up 1 or 2 things in order to make it a more engaging pilot episode, but I think that's only going to serve the series in a positive way.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Okay.
Lou.
I really enjoyed it. So I never got to finish the entire series. I've only read the first volume when it came out, individual issues, and then I read, I think, half or most of the second volume. So everything I remembered is straight from the first volume, and there was a lot of things in it that I was worried about that they were going to show, maybe a little too much. But
it's a very over-the-top book.
It is. It's really over the top. But I was impressed by what they kept in, how they played with it,
How they tempered it.
Yes, and how they didn't go too overboard, and how they made it a little bit more engaging. Like I was thrusted in. I was very interested.
Thrusted in. Is a very oh my god, that's right. Is a very perfect. Honestly, it's a perfect book for them to be able to rejigger the timeline a little bit for dramatic purposes.
Yeah.
Fuego, your thoughts?
I loved it too. Garth Ennis is my favorite comic book writer, as I've said before. Yeah, there you go. These are actually some dope hats that they were giving away at the early screening that we got to see tonight.
Good stitch work.
We got more than 3 of them, so
gotta love being pressed.
Maybe you'll have an opportunity to check this. Check out some of those later. It's awesome. But I must say there are some crucial changes as far as character motivation and a few little tinkering things that I felt, like you guys were saying, made things a little bit more dramatic and a little bit more mysterious and make a little bit more sense, in all honesty, at the end of the day. I'm just I can't believe we have to wait until like July 26th or 27th or whatever the hell it is.
Let's just reenact my cold open, okay? Because I had a
please
cold
do.
open, but
And
Lou's
we
idea was
changed it.
better.
Yeah.
Lou's idea was better. So my cold open was, God damn it!
Cecil, what's wrong?
And then you were supposed to say, what, you didn't like it?
Oh, what? You didn't like it?
No, I have to wait 3 more months for more of this!
Now! Me want now!
And that's why we went with Lou's cold open instead. Because it was way cleverer.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, the point isn't lost. The fact that I would love if this show dropped in its entirety tomorrow. I would be unable to prevent myself from binging it.
Yeah.
Like I would have to stay up late just finishing it.
I'll tell you what the show did for me. Like I said, I haven't finished these volumes, but after watching this show, now I'm like, you know what, I want to go out and buy every single volume and like read them all.
Yeah, I
have
like
I'm very interested in seeing where this show goes, but I definitely want to read the comics first before to see, because I like seeing the changes. You know me, I like to see how they.
We're about to go meet the artist too.
Oh boy, does it up the ante over the course of some of those later volumes? Like before we even attended this, Cecil and I were like, "Oh, do you remember the Gorgasm volume? Like, oh my god, do you remember
Herogasm? Yeah,
Herogasm. Do you remember the stuff on the yacht? Do you remember like
the stuff on the yacht is like the stuff on the yacht? It's like
disgusting.
It was basically Porky's times 10.
Yeah.
In the superhero universe.
Yeah, with drugs and sex and superheroes.
Absolutely,
Basically.
it mixed Porky's with kids and like a number of other different like early 90s sex movies, and this is what Herogasm is, but also throw in the Marvel Avengers.
I would say Caligula.
It's actually closer
Marquis
to the
de
Justice
Sade.
League than the Avengers.
Caligula, Marquis de Sade with superheroes.
Well, yeah,
I'd say that. I'd say that's fair.
I mean, there's one character, the main lady, who is very much Wonder Woman, obviously, but then the other one is an amalgamation of both Superman and Captain America mushed together, being the Homelander and stuff. And
yeah,
so,
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
But one is obviously so basically in this world, getting into the story a little bit.
Exactly.
So in this world, there is, it's a world protected by superheroes, but most of these superheroes, over 200 of them, in fact, work for this company called Vought America. And they're only referred to as Vought in this, so I don't know if they're specifically Vought America in this series. They just call it Vought, but their goal is to get a superhero in every town in America. And it turns out that superheroes, at the point at which there are so many, then you have to realize that these are also people. And a lot of these superheroes are very flawed, very tempted creatures, and a lot of them take advantage of their power and position and stuff like that. And so that's where enters this group called the Boys. And it is a group of miscreants, of mischievous ladies and gentlemen that have grouped together in order to spank the superheroes, as they put it.
Yeah,
when need
they only
be.
said spank here.
They only said spank.
It's far worse. But this was what was funny that they had displayed on the screen.
Indeed,
they
read
said,
it.
I mean, should I say?
Go ahead, just read it out.
And everything?
No, go ahead, read it out.
Okay, it basically said, "Fuck superheroes. Fuck their stupid magic lessons and Norwegian hammers. Fuck their caves and layers and sidekicks and ball-hugging spandex. Why? Because this is the real world. And in the real world, when people really score limitless power, they become assholes, drunk with power and fame, reckless, vain, ego-driven, image-obsessed, and they don't give a shit about the little people. We're ants to them. Fuck them."
Yep.
That's the mantra of this show.
Dude, I'm just going to pull up that picture that I took on Instagram and just make
just
that
overlay
bigger.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, all right. So, that's
it up really well.
It's basically the anarchist superhero story. Yeah. Like, it's the people that are anti-establishment. It's the people that are like, I'm done with Marvel characters. I'm done with DC. I'm done with all these goody two-shoes characters. Give me something different in the superhero genre. Boom! The Boys walks through the door and is like,
I don't think there's
hello, hold my beer.
As they're shown, there is there's the image that is put forth, but then there's what they really are behind closed doors.
For real,
we did image that they're trying to hide.
We did a reaction to the uncensored trailer, and the uncensored trailer didn't even do justice to the amount of craziness that this pilot episode even showed us.
Truly.
I mean, from the quote unquote origins of Wee Huey.
Yeah.
That was like
they did it
so
exactly.
amazingly presented.
That was really good.
So amazingly presented.
And
was like
from not being in Scotland, it was like pretty much like
it was so incredible.
It kept to
incredible.
the beats from this volume. Like there were certain beats in this comic that you remember that stick with you, and the show keeps to all those beats, but does it in its way to fit within the show
and recreates them very well. And you know what, stuff that we do not get in. So there's a character, Starlight, and in the book we don't get really any background aside from her saying she's from Des Moines and this and that. We actually see her back in Iowa training, her mom there with her. We get so much more backstory and care about this character before the horrible thing that
I think that was
to her.
smart. I think
and
that
was
was
so
very
smart. That was
yeah.
one of Kripke's little, like, it's not as much a lot of changes as much as a little tinkering and then adding a lot of almost like just stuff to give more punch to the emotional beats and the terrible stuff that starts to happen to people.
Yeah, it gives it a little like weight to it, like it's not just these horrible things happen and live with it. It makes you care.
I felt so much worse for, and we'll talk about it in the spoilers, but I felt so much more for her because in the comics you've seen her for like a couple pages.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about her.
Yeah.
We already knew this character and cared about her.
They open up your heart to her, and then all of a sudden this stuff happens, and you're like, whoa. It made it a little bit harder to believe on a level, though, because we had that backstory. Because I was like, I don't know that she would do that. You know what I mean? Like, it made it a little harder to believe. They
made up for it.
They did. But I agree. But that was the one issue if I had to point it out. So let's get into the story because obviously we all loved it.
Yeah.
So the story is, it's as I said, it's about a group where Vought, owns these superheroes. It's closer to Justice League than it is the Avengers, right?
Yeah,
there's a Superman analog.
It's
more DC. There's a Wonder Woman analog. There's a Batman analog. There's a Flash analog. There's an Aquaman analog.
It's a Green Lantern.
Green Lantern, yeah. So it's more of a Justice League send-up than it is a Marvel send-up. But this group called the Seven is seven amongst the 200 heroes that Vought owns and thus employs,
but
as it
also
were.
markets the hell out
of
comic books and through films.
Comic books, food, Red Bull.
Well, actually,
you know what I mean?
It's
like
funny.
everything.
What's funny is like they didn't really do comics as much. It was really more about movies and merchandise,
which is what makes sense because in this, it's all about the Seven have their own comic book.
Yeah, but now we live in a time where it's like. It's more about movies. The movies
this
and
was
the television shows.
This was written before the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. So anyway, in this world where the Seven exist, we follow a man named Huey who is a bit of a spineless jellyfish, and he's got a girlfriend, and he's content in his life, even though he acknowledges that he's a bit of a weakling.
He's timid.
And then something happens. Involving his girlfriend and one of the superheroes. Something goes wrong, and it sends Huey down a very particular path, and he gets introduced to Carl Urban, who plays Billy Butcher, who is the leader of the boys. Now, in this pilot episode, we don't meet the rest of the boys, just straight up.
But they've shown them in the teasers.
They have shown them in the teasers and stuff like that, but don't expect too much out of this pilot. We didn't see them in the pilot, but honestly, I feel like if they had shown them in the pilot, it would have felt like too much. I felt this pilot was perfectly paced, and it showed just the right amount of people and the world.
Despite borrowing a tiny bit from a few later issues, it really was like the first two issues.
Yeah, it was fantastically done.
It laid out mystery. It laid it out
it showed us the world.
It shows the world what's happening, and then it added an element that was different from the comic that made you go, "What's going on? What's happening?" I need to know more. Like again, I got sucked in. I was like, dude, I need to know.
It's honestly one of the strongest pilots of a TV show that
it was a very strong pilot. A lot of
even outside of the comic ties, it's a really, really strong hour of entertainment. And honestly, numerous times during the show was I like, yeah, I could watch this for another hour and a half. I could watch this for another
hour. And that's what you said on the drive back.
Yeah, I wanted the next 2 or 3 episodes. I was like, why can't I go home and have all of this available for me to binge tonight?
It would have been dope if they did the first 2 episodes.
The first 2 would have been great.
Yeah.
But this was a very beautifully done pilot, hour-long bit of entertainment.
And another great
thing,
a
very good
behind it, and seeing it on a big screen was a special treat
and
because nobody else is really going to get to see it like that.
Tell me I'm wrong in saying that anyone that watches this will know for sure whether the rest of the series will be for them or not. if you're into this
In
episode,
the first 50-something minutes, which
in the
is as
first
long as
episode,
this
you
is,
will know whether or not you will like the rest of the series because it's more of the same. It's adult. It's heavy. It's aggressive, but it's also very funny in a dark
comedy.
way.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it has humor.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of those shows, and if that floats your boat, then this is going to be for you. So story-wise, we covered everything, but how did you guys feel about it? I thought they presented it beautifully.
I thought it was great. Like I said, some of the changes they made, especially with how things went down with his girlfriend, how it is presented in the comic, and what they did with the show, and like how that was presented, again, sucked me right in. I was more curious as to the circumstances behind it.
I couldn't believe how accurate it actually was to the comic.
It was also very accurate.
It was.
But it took a couple changes, and there's one big change without divulging what it is. There's a character motivation that is presented one way and kind of remains a mystery. And I felt like not knowing outright what that character was all about was very effective when you find out the full extent, because the reveal that we eventually get at the end of the episode is something you don't even find out about him until way later, like way later in the issues, the full extent of power.
So they're just like
and so
kind
on.
of jumping into kind of like what they did with Preacher, start like take something that was from the back end and kind of throw hints.
They're like, oh, this was way way later. Let's just put it forward,
like
and,
hint at it or show
versa.
a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a very effective beat in the story, and it actually just showed you the extent of the stakes in play.
Yeah.
I thought.
So let's talk briefly about the acting, right? I thought the acting was fantastic, and it's really funny because when this book was written, if you can see here, this main character, Wee Huey.
Flip it on the back. The back has a better one.
Okay,
That
so
looks more like him.
yeah,
I
the
think
character
so.
of Wee Huey on the back here, this main character right here.
Yeah.
That's Wee Huey. Now, originally, this character was created and modeled after Simon Pegg.
Yes.
And the fun thing is, now that it's happening here, I mean,
He's a little too old.
15 years
unfortunately.
later, he's a little too old, but they did indeed bring Simon Pegg in to play the father of that character, Wee Huey.
Inspired casting.
Very, very awesome.
So he
very,
still
very
gets
awesome.
to be involved. Because
Totally
they've been-
fan service, but
Yeah.
but man, I was so all about it
I
because
was all
Simon-
about it, but
Simon Pegg's awesome anyway.
He is great. Love him. His American accent is funny.
Yeah, it didn't sound.
It's only
very
because you
convincing,
expect the other thing.
I
thought
was.
it was fine.
I
I
would've
thought
been
it was
cool.
fine.
I think it would have been cool if they just let him keep. The
I thought
accent.
it was fine.
Yeah,
It was very American.
Well, and that's another change is making Wee Huey not Scottish. They
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
him.
Well,
yeah,
he's
moving
very
it to,
Scottish in the book,
Moving
yeah.
it to
We're
New York, right?
well, they eventually get to New York.
Eventually.
That's where the butcher lives. But all the initial beats take place in Scotland and
Right.
Glasgow.
In the
so.
book, yeah. So, okay, so Fuego, your thoughts on the acting, though?
Oh, the acting was solid. I really commended the performance of the actress who plays Starlight immensely.
Yeah.
She
I
was
thought
great.
She
was
brought
very
so
convincing.
much convincing
And let me
emotional
see if you
weight
agree.
and depth and stuff like that. And the aftermath after a beat, just the way Derek Kruger
Robertson.
in this. I don't know. She looked kind of goofy at times.
She's a
and stuff.
little run down in that book.
Yeah, exactly. Just a wee bit. But the way that she just deals with kind of realizing certain things about the nature of joining the Seven.
Yeah.
She sold it, man. And she's so pretty, and yet she seemed like she had the innocence, which is where it was like it felt like such a pivotal crossroads in her life for the character. She didn't seem like she was like, oh no, she whatever side, but we'll talk about it in the spoilers.
Well, we didn't actually even get into the other part of it. So yeah, part of the story is about Wee Huey and dealing with what happened, where his girlfriend went and all that stuff.
But our other central
The other
character
part of the story is Starlight,
yeah.
yes, who is the superhero that Fuego was talking about that we got to see training a little bit, who is basically brought in as the new part of the Seven,
Because
the biggest
someone's
superhero
retiring.
group, because
Yeah.
someone has left the group, whether they've retired or what, we haven't
We
really
find
found out yet.
later in the comics.
So, yes, so there's
these
an
comics now.
there's an opening. There's an opening in the Seven, and they bring in Starlight. She wins out of all of these, audition tapes and stuff. And then
that was added stuff
as
where we
she-
saw
yeah.
all of just her being photographed and.
But as she gets involved, obviously
there's
there's a bit of a dark underbelly that gets exposed, and so that's the other half of the story. That's the other half of the story. We never even got into that, but so anyway.
And that's about the extent of it, aside from him meeting Butcher and you
Yeah.
know saying, "Hey, let's go after these guys."
So we like the acting and all of it. I mean,
Oh yeah, Carl Urban.
Carl Urban as Billy Butcher.
Man.
You had your doubts about it.
I did have my doubts because Billy Butcher looks a very specific way. I mean,
like
Billy
huge.
Butcher, he looks more like Arnold
Clive
Schwarzenegger or Clive Owen than anything else.
Yeah,
But Carl Urban is.
But he's played by Carl Urban.
Judge Dredd.
He's Judge Dredd, and he's
Scourge.
also Scott.
Scourge.
He's
He's also
also
Scotty.
Bones. No, he's Bones. He's Bones,
Yeah,
right?
that's
He's
right.
Bones.
Yeah.
So, but he's got a big beard, a big bushy
God
beard.
damn it, Fuego.
You're the Star Trek. Wait, no, you're a Star
God
Wars
damn
guy.
it, Jim.
Damn it, Fuego! I'm a doctor, not a comic
Not a
book reader.
film
Anyway,
critic.
so anyway, Billy Butcher looks different, but honestly, Carl Urban pulls off Billy Butcher very well.
Yeah, he
He's
does.
The accent, the attitude.
It's awesome. He
Drop
really
cocks
nailed
all
it.
Again,
the
like
goddamn
you know,
time.
it reminded me. I think he did use his Australian accent because he reminded me a lot of how he played
Is he
Scourge.
Aussie?
Is he Aussie or is he English? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he's Australian.
Okay.
But the way he played Scourge in Thor Ragnarok, that reminded me a lot. Like the jokes, the humor is like being just so. There's a swagger to him that I really dug.
I could see
He's
that.
a badass man. Carl Urban
Yeah.
is good. I'll watch him in anything.
He
I mean,
embodied the hell out of this character.
Honestly,
Yeah,
everyone was really good in this.
Yeah.
From the girlfriend to Wee
Even
Huey.
you, yeah, I don't even know who
mean,
that actor was, and I was very convinced.
I've
Yeah.
seen him in a few different
I've
things.
seen him in a couple
I
things, too.
recognized him, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
What's her
couldn't
name?
recall
The
what
biggest
from.
name of this show is
Elizabeth Shue.
Elizabeth Shue did a great
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out at
Yeah.
first, I was like, who is that? Oh, it's Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah, she
and
was
she
awesome.
knocked it out, man.
She did.
She's like the
She
head.
did.
She's like one of the head, people behind Vought and
Vought.
selling the superheroes to
Yeah,
different
she was very convincing.
parts of the country and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
she was great in their whole
She was excellent.
shareholders, whatever meeting.
Even with
that they
like
have.
talking to the audience and
But
all
also
that.
talking with the mayor of Baltimore, I thought that was a very effective
Great
scene.
scene.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they lay out so much stuff, and the acting is tremendous through the whole thing. I mean,
The show has potential.
let's talk
Yeah.
about. I mean, the cinematography is very well done, but
Dude,
I
there's
think
money behind this show. Like,
Yeah.
like watching. I've never watched a television show on the big screen, and watching this, I felt like, dude, this.
it belongs up there.
Yeah, I was
right?
like, this is a movie.
Yeah. It
belongs
like,
up there on
this
the big
looks
screen.
like a really decent budget.
I'm legit
movie.
glad we saw this on the big screen.
Me
to
too.
be
I am
honest.
ecstatic we saw this on the
Yeah.
score for Fuego for
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
these things together.
For real,
right?
man. Because
Yeah.
that
This
honestly,
guy-
it made such a big difference because this is indeed. It feels. I mean, on the heels of.
This is what we work so hard for.
Well,
is
we
to
just
get these
watched
sort of
Avengers
other-
Endgame like a week
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
right? So we're all hot off that, and this did an excellent job just going into dark places that those kinds of movies will never go, but not skimping on the actual effects
Yeah.
and things like that. Like it's like
Where we're-
if you
Costume
ever
design.
wanted to see an adult superhero club portrayed in something, you might get your chance in this show.
Might.
You know what I mean? So like there's some stuff that you just wouldn't expect to see, but that's like as someone that has been watching now superhero movies for so long.
Well, and
they've been in the mainstream specifically for the last 10 years, not 11
do
years
some
because of
great-
Marvel.
They do some great stuff with
Stuff
blood,
you'd
with
never
that
expect.
translucent character.
yeah.
That scene was dope.
Not only
man.
that, but blood in a slow motion thing, you know
Well,
what I
not
mean?
that, but like what people use certain powers for, and
yeah.
how they use those certain powers
Yeah.
in their private lives.
No.
Yeah, well, not only
Very
that. I mean,
clever.
it really does back up the question. If you were invisible, what would you do? I mean, you
Well,
do
or if you
creepy
can,
shit.
or if you can shrink really small.
yeah, you're obsessed
Or
with
fly.
that.
was
Dude,
funny.
that blew my mind. I was like, okay.
That's actually in the trailer, in the uncensored trailer. That
I don't
day.
remember
It
that
is.
part of the
Yeah.
trailer.
Yeah, I remembered it. It's great.
So yeah, I mean the effects.
Great effects, well
Yep.
shot, on par with so much.
The effects.
of
There's a lot of CG, obviously, because it's a superhero story. So there's people flying. There's
but
laser vision.
solid,
There's all kinds of stuff.
convincing looking CG.
Very
It did
much
not
so.
look
Very
cheap
much so.
or trashy
Yeah.
or amateurish at all. Amazon threw some money at this, like Lou was saying to me on the drive back over here to film this.
You have to imagine that's why they're willing to show the pilot 3 months early because they're like,
See if
look,
their money
we
paid
put
off."
some money into
Yeah.
this.
Well-
Let's drum up some actual, let's pave a runway for this thing to come into land.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
you know what I
smart.
mean?
And I mean, honestly, after seeing the production value on this from Amazon Studios, and I was also talking with Lou about this on the drive over here,
I'm so glad I'm a Prime member already.
they're doing the Lord of the Rings prequel series on Amazon, and they're developing the Dark Tower prequel series right now. If they're going to put this kind of money towards their big epic projects, you know me in the Dark Tower.
You okay? You okay? You okay?
Do you need to bite on a wallet?
Just make sure it goes to series. God damn it!
All right, so I think that's where we should stop the non-spoiler
And
part
start
of this.
spoiling.
Yeah, well, let's just call it as an episode. We'll
There
just
was
do a
some
separate episode.
good music too, man. I mean,
Yeah.
we got and
Oh, yeah.
the
That's
one thing
true.
that we had London Calling by the Clash. We had, I mean, the one thing that I thought was especially funny before, and this isn't a musical thing that was played in it, but it was where I saw Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. The shirt that he was foreshadow.
So the music was good. I mean, everything just worked together. The score was fantastic.
Was really good. They had this weird like voice thing going on,
like
but
funky type.
Yeah, it was catchy.
It was a like you said, one of the most solid pilots I've ever seen. It didn't even feel like a pilot.
No, it didn't. It felt like a movie that belonged up on screen.
It felt like, hey, this
that
is
I wanted
it.
more
We're
of.
done. This is
Immediately.
how it's gonna look. Boom, enjoy.
Yeah, fantastic, guys. So we're going to call that there. Let us know in the comments down below if this TV show interests you. I surely hope so if you've made it this far into the review. But if you enjoyed the video, click that like button and subscribe if you want to see more. I think we absolutely have to cover this show. I don't know if we can do it week to week, but
I don't have Amazon, but I might. I might have to start.
You can get one of our codes.
Yeah, it's okay. We can hook up.
Just
Just come watch over at our place. So, all right. Well, thank you guys very much. Let us know in the comments down below what you're excited about, if you're excited about this or not. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Luis Hernandez.
Gracias, Jaime, and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.